Alrighty.
Playing some 1-2 cash games. Um, and I think the first one we're going to go over, uh, I think I make mistakes in all of these hands, and we'll talk about that. Um, but I think the first one we go over is definitely like the most important. So let me see. I'm not exactly sure. Is there a way I can make this bigger? Um,
You could probably there's a like a square in the
oh, here we
like
go.
where the player, yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's better.
Okay. So is this the right hand? Yeah. So this is the right hand. Let me slow it down here. Um, so this hand, I have the wonderful pocket aces. But as we know, that's just too good of a hand. It's never going to end well. Um, okay, so pre-flop, I make it three big blinds. This is very standard. Folds to me, make it three big blinds. That's pretty much that's what you should be doing with all your hands. You shouldn't really change your raise size when it folds to you. Um, if like a couple of these players had limped in, then obviously we're gonna want to size up. I usually do one big blind per limp. Um, so basically, it folds to me. I make it six, and the big blind calls. So this is how like most of your hands are going to be played. It's going to be you raise from some position, and the big blind calls. That's like the most common scenario in Texas Hold'em. So anyway, flop comes out queen 9-4. This is a pretty dry flop. There's not a lot of draws other than like jack 10. Um, and at this point, I'm just thinking, overpair, standard C bet, which is what I do. And I expect the big blind to call with any pair and with jack 10 and occasionally with some ace highs with like a backdoor flush draw. So like ace five of hearts probably floats here. And that sort of hand versus just this kind of standard C bet. Um, so player calls, and now the king of hearts comes on the turn, um, which brings in the obvious straight draw, and it's an overcard of the board, and it also brings in the backdoor flush draw. So here is where I think I kind of make my first mistake in this hand. Um, and I go ahead and bet 18. Um, gosh, this is going fast. Okay, so they check to me as I expect them to do like 100% of the time, um, and I bet 18, which is 2/3 pot, which is honestly kind of a big sizing. Um, and the more I've thought about this hand, I think I should really be checking the turn. It and if anyone has input about what they think I should be doing in this hand, feel free to speak up. But I'm just kind of talking about my perspective and kind of what I think their range is. So basically, 2/3 pot is kind of a big sizing, especially with the straight coming in and an overcard coming to the board. Uh, because now, like the hands I'm trying to get value from are like a queen or a nine, and those hands might just fold to this size. And like if I have a queen, I'm going to want to be checking on the king a lot of the time, and probably just like calling a river bet. So I really think like all my one pair holdings should be checking back here, and then going for value with my two pair plus, because I can definitely have queen nine suited, king nine suited, pocket fours, pocket nines, pocket queens, pocket kings, king queen. All of these hands I can have that are going to be a lot better to bet this turn with, and I can have jack 10. And so now when I get raised, so I called, and as soon as I get raised, I kind of knew at the time. It's important to note that there's a 15-second timer um, on this, like for these hands, so you have to make decisions pretty quick. Um, so I don't know. In the moment, it seemed like a little bit too nitty to fold the turn. Although after kind of like breaking it down and thinking about it, I think I definitely should be folding the turn. Because at the end of the day, it's only one pair. And let me escape out of this. I'm going to open up the range selector. So people are going to call against that size, something like 50 to 60% of hands out of the big blind. So as we can see, that's a massive range. Well, actually, I shouldn't say. Obviously, some of these hands are going to be 3-bet. So, their range probably looks something like this, and maybe some more of these kings and queens, and that sort of thing. So this player can really have pretty much any of the 2-pair combos on the flop, and they can have a set of 4s or a set of 9s, I think. A good player would probably 3-bet pocket 9s pre versus a cutoff open. But in these like 1-2 kind of low level cash games, the players usually aren't that aggressive. They're more happy to just kind of call and see a lot of flops. So for that reason, like this range might be like even wider. They might just call with every king in the big blind. So basically, they have a super wide range. And these passive type players are going to be happy to pretty much just check call with any pairs. And as soon as you get raised, you can usually put them on 2-pair plus. And if you start to try to think of like bluffs, this was one thing I wanted to ask, like, what do people think their bluffing combos are going to be on the turn? I have a pretty good idea of what I think the bluffing combos are, but I wanted to know what you guys thought they might be. Blizzard, do you have any ideas?
Be like a flush draw. Like on
Yeah.
the turn.
So
That's
yeah.
what I
So
was thinking.
on the turn, like what bluffs am I getting check raised by? I think the two most obvious ones are going to be Ace Jack and Ace 10 of Hearts. And that's only 2 combos. So, that's really not that many hands. Maybe like this player has, like any suited ace and they're always floating the flop with ace high. And when I say floating the flop, that means kind of calling with, kind of a pretty marginal holding with very little equity, usually kind of with a plan to steal the pot later. So if I have the ace of hearts on the turn, I think it's just like a slam dunk fold. Now, a more advanced player might take a hand. And this guy, Elbar, I'd been playing with for a couple hours at this point. I had not seen him do anything crazy. He had been pretty tight. He was not the player that I thought would be like taking a pair and turning it into a bluff. But a pretty good bluffing combo would be like 10-9 or Jack-9, because you block one of the sets and you block the straight, which I think is really important in this hand. Like just having a Jack or 10 blocking the straight would be really important. So that would be a good hand to turn into a bluff. But like I said, I don't think this is the player that's going to be creative enough to realize like his 9 isn't good and then be like, okay, I should turn this into a bluff because I blocked the straight. So that's another reason I should fold the turn, because if his only 2 bluffs are ace Jack and ace 10 of hearts, there's 16 combos of Jack 10 suited and unsuited. There's a bunch of combos of Queen 9 and King 9, as well as King Queen. And then there's 3 combos of pocket 4s and 3 combos of pocket 9s. So for all those reasons, I should probably be folding the turn. And then he shoves river, and I pretty much snap fold the aces on the river. Just because basically I was calling on the turn hoping that he would give up on the river, when really I should just be folding the turn. So that one didn't go my way. But I think I saved. It's very important to realize like what your opponent's range looks like. Like a lot of people are just going to be like, I have aces, it's an overpair, I'm just going to call. Like the bet was less than pot size on the river, but you really got to realize that to be profitable, to make that call, it was let's see, it was 100. It would have been 109. So basically, the way you can do this math, it was 109 to call. So you can do 240 plus 109. So 349 divided by, or 109 divided by 349, which is 0.31. So to be profitable in that spot, I have to basically like call and be ahead 31% of the time. And I don't think he's bluffing there 31% of the time. I think he's like hardly ever bluffing there. There's just way more value combos than bluff combos. But maybe I'm wrong. If someone has like input and they think there's like an obvious bluff that I'm missing, let me know.
Hey, so for like after the flop, if you think they have like a 10 jack, how much do you think you have to bet for them to like fold?
So like if this is the flop and I think they have jack 10, like they're really not going to fold jack 10 on the flop. Unless
So even
I
if you
did
go all in and shove them, they will still not.
okay. Like if I shut, but like the thing is I don't really want to fold out jack 10 right now. Cause like if we go, so there's a pretty cool tool you can use. It's just a Texas Hold'em calculator.
Open-enders only hitting like 30-something% of the time. So
Yeah, I think it's maybe a little less than that. So basically, you can look up this Texas Hold'em calculator and you
cool.
can just put in the hands. I think I had ace of spades, ace of diamonds. Is that right? Yeah, ace of spades, ace of diamonds. Flop is queen of hearts, or well, we don't know what he has. Queen of hearts, 4 of diamonds, 9 of clubs, 4 of diamonds. Okay, and let's just give this player jack 10. So you can see like I'm a pretty big favorite against jack 10. Obviously, I'd rather him have a hand like queen jack. Like I'm definitely doing a lot better against queen jack. Like you can see it's only 21%. But him having jack 10 is not really the end of the world because I'm going to bet and he's going to call. And I'm going to be like a pretty big favorite to win the hand. So, and like a lot of times, like if the turn's a brick, and now I'm still going to bet, my 18 into 27, and he's probably still going to call. People love to chase their draws. And like, I'm not saying that he shouldn't call, the turn with jack 10. Like, I think he probably should. So it's kind of like just a spot where if he has a draw, he's going to call just because he's getting the right pot odds. So I don't know have I talked much about pot odds during one of these strategy sessions?
I think you could do a quick re-overview.
So basically pot odds are really important. So let's say there's like $20 in the flop or $20 in the pot. Let's just put okay. So if there's $20 in the pot and let's say
You gotta
aces.
readjust your screen.
Oh,
Your
can
screen
you
is
not-
like off centered. Yeah.
can y'all see this?
It's-
or
It's
no?
fine.
Wait, is it? Oh,
Why would it being
my
off-centered
laptop just
matter?
fucked up. Whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
I was only
Um,
seeing a corner of your screen. Keep going.
Okay. So basically, let's say like someone made it $10 free with aces, and then this person called with 6-7 suited. And then this was the flop. Aces is always going to c bet. So they probably want to c bet somewhere in the range to like a third pot to like 70% pot. So let's just say they bet 10 into 20 just to make the math easy. So with the 6-7 of diamonds, you're going to be putting $10 in to win 40 basically. So you only need 25% equity. Like you only need to win the hand 25% of the time basically. And you can see here, even though you only have 7 high, you have a flush draw as well as a backdoor straight draw. So you have 34% equity. So like even like let's say I'm in this scenario, there's $20 in the pot, they bet 10 and I'm sitting there with 6-7 suited and they show me aces. I'm still going to call the $10 because I'm going to hit a diamond often enough that it will be profitable for me to call. Like even if they bet 20 into 20, I'm still going to be getting the right pot odds because I only need like 33% equity.
It's where
Um,
you hear the term "it's a good price to call" or "it's not a good price to call." Things when poker announcers say that. So that's a way you
Yeah.
can base it off of. Betting power is another thing.
Yeah. So like at the final table, I don't know if people remember, but there was a hand where Kenji like 4-bet 9s or something. And Seth 5-bet shoved. And it was only like it was like 1,700 more to win what was going to be like a 13,000 chip pot. And so it's important to note that even if it's like a pocket pair over a pocket pair, the lower pocket pair still wins 1 in 5 times. It's very important to remember that you're never entitled to win pre-flop. So basically, Kenji should have called with the 9s, even knowing that like after Seth 5 bets, he like definitely has queens, kings, or aces. So sometimes like you just have to call even though you know you have a worse hand because the price is so good. And that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Which is kind of why like this guy's not really gonna fold Jack 10 on the flop unless like like if I bet like $50, he's gonna be like, okay, you can have it for $50. But you want to always remember that you always want to have like a bluffing range as well as a value range. So like, do I really want to be bluffing into a $13 pot for like $50? It's just like risking a lot to win very little, basically. So anyway, does anyone have other questions about this hand? All right, and then I have a couple more to go over. I had to email them to myself because of
Okay. Yeah, maybe one more hand, and then we can move on to play.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this. That'll be quick.
All right, let's see which one this is. Okay. So this is actually a really quick hand, and so yeah, we can go over this really quick. So this is like not a super exciting hand, but basically normally I would not recommend like 3-betting ace jack offsuit, especially when you're going to be out of position. But I had kind of picked up that this player Abhai Ku he had kind of some sizing tells. Like he would make it like $10 when he had a hand that he liked, and like $6 for the hand that he kind of liked. But he was also pretty sticky. Like he wouldn't really fold pre-flop. So basically, I was trying to isolate this player because I knew he was a weaker player. And I can show you a pot that we played earlier in this session. But basically, I 3-bet to $20 to try to isolate this weaker player. And really, I should have made it like $24 to $30, somewhere in that range. Just because generally when you're going to be out of position and you're 3-betting, you want to make it 4x the raise. And then since there was this other player that called in between, you can probably go 5x. So really this should probably be to something like $30 or $28. 20 is definitely a little bit on the smaller side. So that player calls and the other player calls. So I didn't really effectively isolate this player. But I flop an ace, and this definitely could have gotten into kind of a risky scenario. Because either player could have me dominated. I'm not really worried about Eric because he probably would 3-bet ace queen or ace king. But this Abhai guy, I'm also not as worried about because, like I said, I'd kind of picked up that when he used like kind of for him a smaller sizing pre, he didn't have as strong of a hand. So anyway, I c-bet and took that down. And then I'll go over one more. I hope this is the right one. Because this was a pretty big pot. Oh, this might be the wrong one. Oh, this is how I knew that other player was not the best.
Deezer, great name.
Yeah. So this hand, I think I meant to show this one before the ace jack hand, but this is what kind of led to me knowing that this guy wasn't the best, the ace jack hand. So I opened to 6, 2 people call, and then this guy 3-bets to only 12. So when you 3-bet to this size, like you're literally never going to get folds. Like none of the 3 of us should fold ever to this size of a 3-bet. And like I'm very happy to call with Jack 10 suited. That hand flops extremely well and is very playable post flop. So, and like these other two guys aren't going to fold because they're going to be getting an even better price than they were when they called the $6 initially. So we all call. Flop was pretty good for me. So this is a spot where a lot of people like to slow play. They flop trips and they want to slow play. And generally, you just want to put more money in the pot with your good hands. And you know, that's what like generally just get as much money as you can. But this spot I was kind of thinking about sizing. Like raising to $40 when there's already 50 in the pot and he made it 16 is not a very big raise. But basically I was thinking about on the turn, by making it 40 here, when he calls, there's going to be like I think 130 in the middle going to the turn. And then I have a nice, like very good size shove on the turn, like a little bit over half pot. And so sometimes I would do this with a flush draw, planning to shove the turn. But anyway, the other two players fold and he calls, and then the turn is a 4. Basically, we wanted to dodge a diamond. That was like the main thing we're worried about. And, you know, some people will be like, oh, what if he has ace jack or king jack or something? And I mean, if that's the case, then we're just going to lose money here. We started with less than 100 big blinds effective. So, but anyway, we shove. He calls pretty quick. Ooh. And like I said, that's kind of how I knew he was one of the stickier players. I also saw him call like $200 on the river with like third pair one time. So let's see.
I think that's maybe a good hand to end on, if that's all right.
No, let's watch that Alex Steele intro video.
Oh.
Were you trying to be the assistant?
I was. Let me see here. There was one other hand that I wanted to show, but I guess
Actually, I was
Get
going to
in
ask a
here.
question.
yeah, go for it.
Because I think you put the ace jack hand in the hand discussion chat.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
So I was going to ask, what do you think his range was, like when he flopped at the turn, versus what would you think if he had bet?
Wait, the ace jack hand? I don't
Yeah.
think we made it to the turn in this hand.
Wait.
Like if he calls this bet,
Yeah, if he. Oh, sorry, y'all did not make it to the turn. That's my bad. But if he had called
Um,
this bet, like what do you think his range would have been?
if he calls this bet, I'm definitely gonna be a little bit worried, and I'm probably gonna be checking. Like I'm definitely checking the turn. If he calls this bet, because he can definitely have ace king or ace queen. But like I said, he's pretty sticky. I think he's probably calling with like all his pocket pairs, sevens through kings. So I would like if this is a scenario where he has ace king or ace queen, he's not really the player that I'm gonna fold top pair to, just because I had seen him do some crazy things. So basically, I would probably check the turn, and if he checks it back, then definitely gonna be value betting the river, kind of putting him on a pair. And like I said, he was stickier, so I would feel more comfortable thinly value betting him. But yeah, I would definitely be kind of trying to pot control, because in a 3-bet pot, ace jack is not necessarily the best. But like I said, this was kind of more of an exploitive 3-bet to kind of isolate someone who I thought was a weaker player. And I wouldn't be as worried if Eric called, because I would expect him to 3-bet ace queen or ace king himself. And I would oftentimes assume that he had like a suited ace, like a weaker suited ace, like maybe ace 5 suited or ace 10 suited, or maybe also ace jack. So I'd definitely be looking to go for more value if Eric called than if Abhai called.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And with that, of course, if you do have questions, feel free to ask at any time while we're playing. But for that, I think that'll conclude our this session of our lesson. Now, Cole, before we move over to our tables, can you make a Poker Now link?
Yes.
Okay. And post it to VC Texts when you do. I did sort our tables. So for table 1, which is going to be my table, the link that I posted, we have Josh, Tim, Theodore, Brian, Matthew, and Jackson, Chris, Kurt, Jack, Lawson, and I'm sorry if I probably should know who Walseman is, but I don't, so sorry. You'll go to Cole's table, which will be table 2. And Cole, you'll give me the thumbs up in our Discord voice chat, and we should be all good. So thank you guys for coming. I think he's actually just in the chat here. Oh, it's Jacob. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. I will end this session here. Otherwise, let's go play some poker.